a memorial to triumph and tragedy this week with the Quebec Bridge disaster on Body Count. Hello, and welcome to Body Count, the podcast where we believe history doesn't repeat itself. It does rhyme, however. My name is Jessica Manor, and my co-host today...
Hello, everyone. It is Bethany Skelton. Your customer service voice you just presented with us today.
Yes, because let me tell you, people, we've been deep diving into studies about how much people don't and certain demographics don't love our voice. We don't care.
That's the thing about our world. Nobody's going to agree on everything. Nobody's going to like everything that we like, and it is what it is.
That's the fun part, though. I've been so goddamn concerned about worrying about... I've been so worried about whether or not people are going to agree with the subject matter and trying to do serious, methodology and serious historical research that it never occurred to me that they just might not like our voices. Particularly my man voice. It puts people off.
Honestly, I have known you for so long, and even trying to think back to when we first met, I don't see it. I don't hear it. I don't hear the issue that they have, but it is what it is. And you know what? Apparently there's a percentage of people that don't like my voice either, which I've always been told that I have a very...
I think you have a very melodious voice.
You told me that. I was like, oh, hello.
It's very...
melodious.
Hey, hello. I've got a melodious voice. Point of the fact is, we're not going to change jack shit. So if you like it, you like it. And if you don't, you don't. Fuck off. We just don't care.
No, not at all.
No, we don't. So, Bethany.
Yes.
Oh, first off, you made my day. Because, okay, guys, we take it serious when we make a historical... historical. Could I be more from Texas? When we make an historical vow on this show, we take it very, very seriously. And we have not been reading any royal news, period. You and I both.
No, I've skipped over it. Ever since we did that 4-part series on Edward, every time I get a notification, Meghan Markle is apparently... I don't know, jumping on a beanbag. And I'm like, I don't fucking read that shit, okay? I don't know.
Meghan Markle plans to give natural birth upon a trampoline.
Kate Middleton is currently pregnant with her 10th child. Seriously, I'm kind of over
she's
it.
only eating trout farmed by Prince Charles at Balmoral. Yeah, exactly. No. We're fucking over it. We've done a really good job, but I will say tonight, guys, we did a solid hour of just me and Bethany breaking down and looking at royal news. I will say that we will be accountable to our listeners, and we encouraged everybody to not think of them like everybody else and to not pay attention to them. But we had a slip tonight, and I feel like we have to acknowledge that because we did a solid hour of royal family trolling.
Yeah, but we also, we, like you said, exactly, we trolled. We didn't oh my gosh, this is so cool. It was flat out, oh my God, let me read you this article real quick.
That's true. We did troll it hard. It's not like we were oh my God, they're so amazing. I shouldn't use that voice either. That's definitely not going to get us any lovers.
I think it's awesome.
Let me do my sexy voice. Come and listen to our podcast. Don't you love our podcast? Don't you want to listen? Don't you want to click subscribe, rate, and review? As you can tell, ass clowns, we've been drinking.
Yes. I'm drinking wine. What are you drinking tonight?
I am also drinking wine. I like my wines.
I have to drink my wine. I love my wine at night, especially. If I could get away with it during the day, I would. However, I have to still be a parent and do homework. And I'm not going to lie to you. I don't care that my kid's only in second grade. That shit's hard. Okay.
It's just so
fucking hard.
extensive. It's just
It's
so
so much.
extensive. You see, my kid was 3 when your kid was in kindergarten. So I had no clue in the world what you were talking about with sight words and all that bullshit.
Chunk words.
Chunk words and cousins and rhyming words. I was like, what's this bitch talking about? I speak the English language very well, and I write it far better than I could ever speak it. What is she talking about? Well, I've realized they've really revolutionized the way that people speak and the way that people spell if you will do the work. And I think that's the key, do the work. Did you laugh real hard at my tweet today about a kid's homework versus a mom's homework?
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
Well, congratulations, Mom. When he gets a 13 on the ACT, we'll all know what that's about. Just for our listeners' sake, it was a drawing of a plant's cell structure, which was clearly done by a child of the appropriate age. And I thought it was excellent work. Did you not?
I mean, to be
For
honest
a
with
kid
you,
of that
I
age?
saw it, but I didn't understand what it was.
Oh, it's a plant cell.
Okay, see, that's the thing is like I saw it and I knew it was funny, but I didn't know the extent of it because I was like, I don't even actually know what the picture is. I was like, damn, I feel dumber than this kid that drew this picture. Like, okay, this is what I'm just going to drink my wine. Oh, God.
Dude, but back to wine, like really quickly, and we're going to come back to the plant cell. Like, I have gotten a craving for it, whereas normally I'm just a vodka drinker. Clear liquors are just for, in the words of Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec, clear liquors are for rich women and women on diets. And I am perpetually a woman on a diet. So that is why I do clear liquor. Plus, it gives me a clearer head. But I have got such a taste lately for wine. I cannot stop it.
know.
But back to the plant cellular structure. So just for everybody so they know, it's a drawing clearly done by a child, but it's done by a second grader. And guys, it's really fantastic for a second grader. Think about that, Bethany. That's a second grade kid.
That's my kid, and I can't get my kid
well
to write
done.
a sentence and put a period at the end of the fucking sentence.
And this
I have to remind him every time, capitalize the beginning of a sentence.
and
You have to at least put a punctuation, some sort. You make sure it's a question. Is it a question? Put a question mark.
Interrogatory, like declared it. Pick one, son. I don't care what it is. Just
Put something on the end.
Exactly.
I have to remind him every fucking time. And here's the second grader drawing a beautiful plant, whatever.
It is phenomenal. And that's what struck me about it is you could tell a bunch of the other kids' moms had done their work. And then they had done their work, and it was very, very, and then other kids had done their work, and it was very, very half-assed. But this was a perfect, scientific drawing of a plant cell. And then right next to it is clearly a Pinterest mom's, having done the project for their child. So I sent out a tweet today, and I took a picture of what I thought was a wonderful piece of children's homework. They had really done the work. They had really put in the time. And I captioned it a kid's homework. And then I took a picture of a clearly Pinterest mother's work. And I put, good job, Mom, on your kid's homework. And then captioned it something smart ass don't be surprised when they get a 13 on the ACT. And don't get into one of the big 3,
Yeah.
It just struck me so
Yeah, because
hard.
the Pinterest mom definitely has like a shoebox with like this cutout
It
and like all
is
these pop-up like labels, whereas the other kid, like, it's on a plain sheet of paper. They
like
titled it,
they
but they drew it and then drew off like the little like you do see, like you see in science books, where
like
it
you
has like
see
a
in
line,
science books,
and then
and
it like gives you like a little platform so you can write the name of
but
the.
the child clearly drew it with a ruler. And
Oh
that
yeah, it's
was
really good.
phenomenal to me as a second grader's work. And I'm like, ugh, that kid's miles and miles above yours, lady. I was so bored by you doing your child's work. So, FYI, mothers, those of us like Bethany and I who are like, no, you did that for your kid, and those that make our kids do it, our kids may not be as pretty as ruler kids, but we at
Right.
least know they learned something in the
Yeah.
process.
And that's
So
the whole point of this podcast, is we learn something
learn
in the
something in the freaking
process.
process. That's what I was getting to. And that is why I tweeted it today. Like, it may not be pretty, it may not sound pretty, but at least you learn something.
Exactly. So
Also,
let's learn something. Let's learn something right now.
let's learn something really quickly, though. Can we just acknowledge that there's a magazine called Gardens and Guns?
Oh my God, what did you like what? You told me that earlier and I was like, I'm confused. Is it like
We
a
just want to
section of
share
guns
that.
and a section about like gardens,
I
or
have
like
no
people?
idea. I thought it was a porn magazine, like 110%. Look at these fresh gardens and these very stiff guns. That is not the case, folks.
Oh my God.
It's like a garden party in fucking Nevada, man. Like gardens and guns.
Yes.
Cliven Bundy has been invited to this garden party. Just so you know, Bethany, he's that asshole that like his whole troop held up that wildlife sanctuary.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I remember that in the news.
that's
I
the
remember that.
Cliven Bundy group. So now that we've established, one, that learning can be painful, and two, we just don't give a shit. Let's get. It's funny because it's true. Let's
Oh my
get.
God, Brittany, I can't
Oh
believe
my
you
God!
said it.
Yes, I was hoping you were gonna say. I can't believe you said it. You were thinking it.
Yeah.
You said it.
You said it.
Oh. Oh
Okay.
my God. Guys, I am officially done with the, oh, you might not like this. This is why disclaimers really quick. We're going to run you through the whole bullshit that we run you through every week. Like, it's just the way it is. We have to do it. We apologize, but we have to do it for those that are new. Those of you that have been here, you're aware of what's wrong with us, and we aren't going to apologize to you. So just like you kind of know what you're getting yourself into by now, we hope. We're kicked back on the couch. We're going to break down some disturbing history. That's just the way that it goes. If we get this out of our crazy, fantastical brains, it alleviates some of our bullshit anxiety, just like the tiniest little bit. And in a world where there's like stressors around every ridiculous corner, it helps us. Like, I really do believe that it helps us. And if any of you suffer from anxiety out there, like, please listen to this podcast and say, oh, thank you, God.
Mm-hmm.
It's gone.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to be your boring history class. We're not going to be your high school science class. We're not going to be that man that all of you want that lecture you about really sexy history. We're just not going to be that. That's not who we are. But we like to process events and maybe learn a lesson from them. And that's just what we do here.
Yeah, we want to entertain.
We want to entertain you. Because you can be bored by anybody else's history lectures.
Yeah.
So if you're like looking for that Hoover-esque, just the facts, ma'am, sort of history, and on occasion we will say true crime where it is applicable, glad you stopped by. We're just not going to be for you. End of the day, we're just not going to be. So we're going to go ahead and jump onto our housekeeping.
Okay.
If you like the show, please, please, please rate, review, subscribe, because God knows people don't love my voice. So if you love Bethany's voice, please go rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. It's not to like blow the fucking fan up our skirts. That's not what we're asking you to do. Although it's nice to get airflow from time to time. It's nice to say nice things about other people, but what it does is it helps us move up the charts. It helps us very much get subscribed, reviewed by other people, and it also kind of helps us out on the business end. So that's why we always ask you guys to do that. I know it doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's very, very important to us on the business end. So, Bethany, are we ready for today's subject?
Let's get it going.
Let's do it. Do you want me to do my retail voice again?
Yes.
Do you want me to do my bank voice?
Oh, yeah. Do your bank voice. I like
my bank voice. You like my bank voice?
You're about to close that deal, baby. Let's do it.
Let's get that signature on that paper, sweetheart.
Oh my God. Like, I feel like slightly uncomfortable only because it kind of turned me on a bit.
It should. It should, because God knows I'm sewn into that pencil skirt by now. Today, we're discussing the construction and subsequent collapse of a world record cantilever bridge, the Quebec Bridge. It stands as a tribute to the triumph of the human spirit. But before it was finished, it was all about tragedy as it collapsed not once, but twice. Our body count this week? 89 lives.
I'm sorry. I mean, I shouldn't laugh. I'm not laughing at the 89 lives.
No, we're not laughing at the 89 lives. We're laughing at my ass clownery, just so everybody knows.
Your douchebag canoe.
Oh, God, you guys. Bethany introduced me to douche canoe as a term tonight.
Douche canoe.
And it was almost more than I can handle. And
look it up in Urban Dictionary.
There are various reasons. When we get to counterculture, we'll get to why we've spent a lot of time in the freaking Urban Dictionary recently. I didn't know it was a thing that like existed until recently, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. Staunch promiser as I am of the real dictionary, the Urban Dictionary is worth a try. So let's go back, Bethany, to the latter half of the 19th century. Now, there's an economic boom of economic fucking booms going on.
The boom of booms.
The boom of booms. So it sparks the Industrial Revolution, and it rolls right on up to Eastern Canada and sets its eyes firmly on Ontario and Quebec.
Yay, now, Canada.
Oh, Canada. Now, as the country of Canada preps for the 20th century, the first international rail line between the state of Maine and the province of Quebec was established in 1852. From Portland to Montreal, twin railways began to become like the tits way of moving goods and people between our two countries. But the provincial capital of Quebec City is cut off and has like a big river-shaped problem right in the way by the name of the St. Lawrence River. So the trade routes between the province of Quebec, especially the city of Quebec, and the northeastern U.S., it's flourishing. Like, shit's going crazy. I don't know what to tell you. And no surprise, there, as I hear in Vermont, is they're just as into woodworking and syrup and like house flipping and shit, whatever like you cold weather people are all about. We're kidding Canada. We're so kidding Canada. We're so kidding Vermont. Yeah. We're just kidding.
Yes, we love you. We love your skiing and your moose and your songs and the people. You all are great.
your beers and your hockey. We're into all of the things you like.
We love you all, okay?
Bethany,
And
that was
everything that you
so wonderfully stilted. It was, we love your skiing and your mountains and your countryside.
and the people and literally every fucking thing.
Dude, I read the other day, like, or maybe I heard it on last podcast. No, I heard it on last podcast, Side Stories, where there was like a carjacking in Canada where the carjacker literally apologized. And I thought it was like, I hearted that story so much. It was great.
I'm sorry, eh?
I'm sorry. So, oh God, Bethany, why'd you do that to me? Because now I'm going to laugh. So, we're back in our story. There was an insane need for quick transportation of goods and services to the US and back. You have to export, I don't know, sugar we stole from banana republics to make syrup and fucking waffles. I don't know. Again, Canada. We are so joking. You're so fucking nice and it's refreshing. So we're just not clever enough to think of anything other than to come at you for maple syrup. And that's quite frankly where we're at. So,
yes.
The authorities of Quebec City asked an American engineer, oh, look at them bringing in immigrants. Isn't that nice in Canada? That's so, again, we heart you motherfuckers. Again, we joke because our brains are literally fried, guys, from the amount of research we're doing on other stuff. We're
wined out.
And we're wined out and we're brain dead and we don't know what to tell you otherwise. But an American engineer had come to check out the sitch on this river building stuff, right?
Yeah.
So
what's going on?
What's happening? What's happening river-wise and bridge-wise? So the engineer concludes, sorry, Canada, you have no option. I hate to break it to you guys, but build that bridge.
I love that show. Move that bus.
Yes, thank you, Bethany.
I love that show.
That reference was from. I am so excited. Now, for Quebec City to continue development, a bridge it must be. There's no damn choice. So, 1887, the new Quebec Bridge and Railway Company began soliciting designs from bridge building firms. I love, can I just say, that there are firms solely devoted and all their energy at this time goes to bridges. Ernie here, he's an engineer. Have him check out your plans. No, I only do bridges.
Hey, no, sorry. And then it can even go any further. I only do little bridges, not bridges. You're going to have to go see Matt. He is the one that can do the big bridges, I think. Bethany, but then you might have to check with Susan. She probably controls that department.
You bitch. I just threw up wine back into my nose and nasal cavity. When you got to Matt, oh my God, I was so done.
Oh God.
No, and then when we got to Susan, I further snarked it, I further snorted it up into the sinus cavity. It was already up there, but it went all the way up when you got to Susan. That bitch. So, consulted on the project as one of the U.S.'s leading bridge engineers, Mr. Theodore Cooper. Now, Cooper is in his late 60s by this time, which 1800s, early 1900s standards, what was that, Bethany? 1,000 if you're in your late 60s at that time?
Yeah.
Hello, I'm 1,000 and my name is Theodore Cooper. It has to be. They were, oh, wow, he's still alive. He must have knowledge. Regardless, Cooper.
He's the oldest person I know.
He's the oldest person living. He must know how bridges are built. Tag an engineer pen upon him. Oh, God. Give him the incense and myrrh. Oh, my God. Regardless, Cooper had like this long-standing, star-spangled career erecting bridges in the U.S. Of course he
Hello.
did. Hey, what's up, Teddy Cooper?
I mean,
So,
and it's bridges. It's erecting
it's
on both sides.
bridges. Both
It's
sides.
erecting together.
Touch in the middle.
Tip, tip. Tip, tip,
And
tip.
he's erecting and docking. That's just the
Oh,
way
God.
it is. I learned what that term was recently. If you don't know,
You're welcome.
what's the other name for it?
Snoodle.
Snoodle. Snoodler docking. If you are unaware of those terms, please look it up. It will.
Urban Dictionary.
It will give
You might be petrified.
You might be petrified, or it might give you a new lease on life. Quite frankly, we're not here to judge. We can't because we're idiots.
Oh, God.
Oh, so Theodore Cooper takes a gander at all these here plans, so many plans, and says, yes, please, to the
Yes, please.
cantilever bridge design proposed by the Phoenix Bridge Company of Pennsylvania. Now, before retiring, Cooper really wanted to like whip it out and measure. His crowning achievement was going to be this bridge. He was going like out on top. And why not? He was known to be a proud, ambitious man. Served him well thus far in life, right?
Right.
Until it didn't. And
Until it didn't.
Until it didn't. And that's how these stories really tend to go for us here at Body Count. So as he gets an idea to cut costs, everyone gets like this collective idea that, oh yeah, let's put on a show. Let's cut some costs. Thanks, cost cutters. You know, that tends to be what happens in America, Canada. Learn this lesson because you didn't back then. Everybody wants to get in on it, and they want to start cutting costs, and they want to start cutting equality. And equality. Well, that's a different argument altogether.
That's a whole other bag of dicks.
We're going to get, oh, thank you, Bethany, for using it before I did. We're going to get to that bag of dicks very soon. But like cutting quality. What do you think about that, Bethany?
I mean, honestly, we kind of have to say thank you to those people, because otherwise we wouldn't have a show. We wouldn't thank you for not doing your job so that we can have a job that talks shit on you.
I'm doing the one thing that our producer tells me not to do, and that's slow clap. Well, there are other things he specifically tells me not to do, but you guys don't get it because he cuts it out because he's like a golden god. But I'm going to slow clap that because we really wouldn't have a show without that. So, consulted on the project as one of the U.S.'s leading bridge engineers, Theodore Cooper. Cooper's in his late 60s again by this time. We're in, once again, our standard 1800s. Now, Cooper gets this bright freaking idea that he's going to tweak the original plans a bit.
God.
That's where it always goes wrong for us, isn't it, Bethany? And so he decides to move the support piers a little closer to the shore. This was less expensive than building support beams in deeper waters and shaved like a year off construction. But I'm not sure that cost was necessarily as big a motivator for Cooper. I mean, he gets paid the big bucks either way, right?
Yeah.
So, no.
I mean,
so
theory.
This little plan revision, and I think you're going to be right on this theory, Bethany. I think I know what you're thinking. It would make the Quebec Bridge the longest cantilever bridge at the time. I mean, his first decision, and like you could argue his most important decision, was to tweak the plans, which would take the bridge from 1,600 feet to 1,800 feet. Of course he did. Of course he did. Well, it appears he intended to actually like whip it out in real time for fun with that decision. So construction kicks off in the spring of 1904, and by the summer of 1907, the bridge is like halvesies. It's like half complete.
Oh.
Fact. This is where we're going to get back into that equality issue. It was a slip of the tongue because this was already on my mind, folks. So, fact, most of the workers came from the nearby Caughnawaga Reservation. Oh, not so nice now, are you, Canadians? God, is there no story in North America that is complete without Native peoples dying because white people have to have measuring contests?
I
Not
know.
one. Not one, Bethany. And we have covered many here. And I just feel like every time it's a measuring contest against somebody's native peoples.
Yeah.
Ugh, it's depressing as shit.
Like, wow. I mean, and he really did just whip it out. Obviously, he's not satisfied with the length. So he's like, let's get the natives. They can make it bigger. Like, okay.
You want to know and I don't know if this is true, and I'm going to ask if we have any Caughnawaga listeners, which I seriously freaking doubt. I am going to ask Missy about this because I believe she is First Nation. They said in multiple documentaries and in multiple documents that I continue to read about this, and guys, this comes from such an amalgamation of sources today, I can't even begin to cite them all. And I'm just not going to, quite frankly. I've had a rough week, and I'm doing Genghis Khan, and there's too much citing going on already. So, they said particularly about this people that they were great steel workers because for some reason they don't get vertigo. That's offensive as hell, right?
I'm sorry. I am sorry I got quiet. I just didn't.
I thought that was offensive. Unless they don't get vertigo. But I feel like that's a little bit of a generalization and a really offensive statement there. I don't know.
That's why I didn't say anything. I was like, wow, that kind of offended me.
I was offended by it because I continue to read it. And again, I may be wrong. They might not experience vertigo, but I don't feel like the elevation there is any different. It's just everywhere I read, it was like, oh, they were fantastic steel workers because they do not experience vertigo. Excuse you?
Oh, wow.
What did you just say? Okay. That seems a bit broad. Yeah, so it was super offensive. So you understand, while I was going into this, I was like, oh, God, why? Now, the Caughnawaga workers didn't, and I could be saying that wrong, so I could be super, super offensive right now. I don't think I am saying it wrong, though. I think I'm saying it correctly, so we're going to go ahead and go with that.
I mean, I'm not going to even attempt because I will offend somebody with my pronunciation.
I'm pretty sure it's Caughnawaga. Workers couldn't get these kind of wages anywhere else at the time that they were getting on the bridge. So it's going to be understandable that they would take some pretty big risks to keep the money coming in. And trust me, Bethany, you're going to ask me later why it is that some of these people would continue to show up for work. But again, I just want you to keep all totally of this in mind,
No, I totally get it. We're talking about a very, very, and they're probably paid barely minimum,
That's
amount
exactly
of money.
Right. So, they were getting fucked hardcore. And so here they are from $1 an hour to $10 an hour. I don't care. You've got a family to feed. I'm going to show up. You and I both know we're going to show up, if you've got a family to feed. That's just the way it is. That's the workforce. Get over yourself. So, again, everybody that's working on this project, because you are building the largest cantilever bridge ever, understandably, we're pretty spooked from the beginning. But every time someone like expressed apprehension or freaked the fuck out, for lack of a better term, somebody from all the companies was either like right there or immediately right there to reassure them. It's like they were the bridge whisperers.
They're there.
They're there. There's nothing to fear.
Nothing to fear.
'Tis just a bridge. A particularly long one. Don't worry about it. Just go ahead. Take it. Take the whole bridge in. God, I'm gonna do my like reverse Jimmy Carr laugh. Oh. So, cut to the summer of 1907. Workers are starting to have to be coaxed to work as everyone's begun to suspect there's a pretty big problem, which, when you're talking bridges, is always a big problem.
Yeah.
A monumental problem. So, as construction continues, the inspecting engineer discovers the big problem finally on June 15th. He notices the alignment of two girders is off by about a quarter of an inch. So on August 6th, bending is detected in the bridge. The lower support beams, members, I don't know, for lack of a better term, during a routine inspection by the same engineer, and now this is Theodore Cooper's site manager, Norman McClure, were definitely looking more and more bent. Turns out the dead load of the bridge had been vastly underestimated during the plan tweaking. Cooper presents his idea. The Phoenix Building Company modifies the plans, etc. It goes to the Quebec Building and Railway Company. And the stress of the load was proving to be far too much for the bridge. But no one had yet to figure this out. Like, the news makes its way down to Cooper in New York, who immediately contacts John Sterling Dean, head engineer of the Phoenix Bridge Company, to ask, like, what the fuck, dude? What's going on? What do you think Dean's response was, Bethany?
Oh, let me guess. He was like, oh, nothing to see here. Get back to work. Just nothing's wrong. I just feel like it's a reoccurring theme here.
Oh, God. I feel like we're too far into this podcast now when we already know the answer to that question.
So what did he say? Am I right?
Oh, God, Bethany, you're exactly right. I mean, maybe he was too focused on the heavy loads the bridge was taking.
I mean, there was a lot of tweaking and
a lot of tweaking,
bending,
and a lot of bending, a lot of heavy loads.
Members. Oh God,
we're children. We can't talk about bridges. So. You're exactly right. Essentially, it was it. Don't worry about it.
Hey?
The metal just left Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. Already bent, bro. Like, so it's not strange that it looks like it's bending, dude. Like, get over yourself. Like, the shit left here bent, man. So that seems to be the general vibe. So, okay, my follow-up is, what were the credentials at this time to be called an engineer? Because this guy was called an engineer, but he certainly doesn't seem to be an engineer like Thomas Cooper's an engineer. You know what I'm saying? Was it like doctor, and you just put a sign out that said, yeah, bro, I'm a doctor?
Shit, I could do that.
It's what I am. I could do that. I can pull teeth or like cut out appendixes. I just feel like it today. Like, I don't honestly no, but I mean, like, Cooper and his guy seem to be the only engineers at all in this business on site. So despite the company running around and still yelling, it's fine, we said it's fine, even the workers can't ignore what they are continuing to see with their own eyes. They are like literally drawing chalk lines and shit, and then coming back the next day to see that the lines are now uneven.
Wow. That's like, hello, here's your literal sign. I have literally drawn you a fucking picture. Can you not see? It might just be a line. It's no Picasso, but you can clearly see the line has fucking moved.
Let me do the Lascaux cave paintings, like what do I have to do? Do I have to like sketch the Mona Lisa on it for you motherfuckers to get it? I mean, seriously. So,
like, here's Mona Lisa's smile here,
right?
And now it's over here.
And now it's over here. It's vastly disjointed if you hadn't noticed, sir. We've got a real problem. We've taken Leonardo to Picasso. Oh, a bunch of Italian daddies in that group. Woo! So, August 28th, 1907, Norman McClure finds concrete evidence that the girders have shifted during his scheduled inspection. Over the weekend, he is able to determine that from his first measurement of the 9L cord of the bridge's anchor arm. When it first moved, it moved like 3/4 of an inch out of the line. And over the weekend, it had moved 2 1/4 inches out of the line. Yeah. So remember, this guy's not on site constantly. He's just doing scheduled inspections. And he measured that over the weekend. That's how much this bridge had already started to shift. So, unlike anyone else there, he flips the fuck out, and rightly so, because that is just over one weekend. Now,
that's a short amount of time. That's a short amount of time
for a bridge to go from 3/4 of an inches to like 2 1/4 inches.
Yeah,
that is terrifying to me. That honestly, like, that's one of my greatest fears, to be on a bridge when it collapses.
I've seen Harry Potter in the 6th movie. Okay,
thank you, baby. That's exactly
and that bridge collapsing.
And that's a suspension bridge. It's even worse.
Exactly. I just can't.
I can't do it. Oh, it freaks me out. It freaks me out so bad. Again, he's flipped out. Now, in his current state, he concludes, and in the bridge's current state, he concludes that without a doubt, like, this baby's under some serious stress due to improper construction. Again, even the workers are testing that theory with their chalk lines. McClure says, oh, hell no. Hell no. Head straight for Cooper and New York to let him know just how real this situation has gotten. He issues an order to cease all construction until he returns.
Okay. Now, and he's the site manager, correct?
He's the site manager, yes. And until now that stands because he's Cooper's right-hand man on site, and he doesn't necessarily do these inspections all the time. But now he's definitely got concrete evidence that these beams aren't just bending. They didn't just come bent. Something's wrong. There's massive shifting occurring over a weekend. This shit is real. So he's taken off to New York, but before he leaves, he issues an order on site that unless they hear from him or they hear from Cooper, no more. Like, Octung, alert, stop. But, and there's always a but on this frickin' show, like always, the work was allowed to continue once McClure headed south. The work was authorized by Edward A. Hores, which, what a fucking name and how appropriate, chief engineer of the bridge company. A superintendent and chief engineer of the local company on site went to Hores and magically said, oh no, you're good to go ahead with construction. Everything will be cool. Therefore, after McClure left, gave his orders not to continue, they continue construction and put even further strain on this bridge.
Like, I'm sorry, what the fuck? This guy is supposed to be the chief engineer of a fucking bridge company. Like, who the fuck does he think he is? He hasn't been on site. Does he think, like, oh, they're just being a bunch of fucking pussies. Don't listen to them. Everything's fucking fine. Like, this guy pisses me off. Like, I'm sorry.
It pisses me off, too. But, like, don't make McClure the only shot caller, you know?
Yeah.
Not McClure, don't make Cooper the only shot
Cooper.
caller.
Yeah.
Because McClure was the guy that was there on site, like seeing it. He should have had like the authority, I feel like, to say, hey, shut that shit down.
Yeah,
But
because
I
he could see
agree.
it.
I feel like they kind of magicked up a different engineer to be like, oh no, it's fine. You just keep doing what you're doing, ass clowns. Like,
It's naturally been, it's going to shift in the process, you know, because it's just supposed to happen that way.
if it didn't collapse, what were they going to do? Like, build it on down into the river? That's my next question.
I know.
Like,
it's a wavy bridge.
it's
like
a
a roller coaster.
We're all really into the wave here in the United States. You all enjoy it too. Like, I don't understand the logic behind that, but we're never going to understand that. That's what we're here to try to do. So, for the workers, August 29th was already super dicey. Like, these guys had major anxiety. Some just turned a deaf ear to the rumors that were kind of going around. Others needed the money regardless. And others just flat ass refused to do the work, period, that day. Now, despite all signs, they continued, and by they, I mean those in charge, to run a schedule train, which a train is heavy enough, like, alone, right?
Yeah.
Onto the bridge to move steel from the yard to where it needed to be placed
God.
in further construction. Yeah. Real time, as this is occurring, Theodore Cooper walks into his New York office that morning to find a fucking panicked Norman McClure, rightly so, waiting to tell him, Sir,
this is really important, sir.
Like, waiting to tell him there are obvious signs of a very much weakening structure in the bridge. Now, Cooper realized, like, the seriousness of the sitch, to his credit, and started, like, beeping out a telegram ASAP. Wasted no time. He and McClure sent this to...
I mean, that's good. That's a good thing.
You think that?
I'm feeling good about McClure and Cooper right now. Like, I'm having...
and you know what? Like, even to the end, I feel pretty good about him. But, again, we'll kind of get to the argument to the end. Like, one guy can't be in charge of everything. Like, that's just not the way it goes, especially not when you're on site. But I'm feeling really, really good about them as well, because at least they tried, right?
Now, I feel like they're trying. Like, they fucked up, obviously, and they realize they fucked up, and they're trying to
I mean, at least McClure, like, panicked like a mofo and ran straight to New York. Sir!
Well, because, again, he was on site, so he saw what was happening, and he was like, holy shit, like, this isn't just a natural bending or natural shifting. This is a big deal. And he, like, got his ass quickly to New York. And it sounds like, the way you just make it sound is like he was like, I'm sorry, McClure, but Cooper is out of the office until tomorrow. Okay, I'll wait.
I'll wait right here. I'm just going to sleep right here. That's cool with you. I got nothing but time and panic. Which, no, I very much agree. And when it kind of shakes out in the end, we'll talk a little bit more about that, because I don't necessarily feel they deserve the bad, particularly Cooper deserves the bad rap he gets. And this is why. So he's frantically beeping out that telegram, yeah? Mm-hmm. So he and McClure sent this telegram to Mr. John Dean of the Phoenix Bridge Company that we met earlier, that was like, oh no, the beams just came, like, bent.
Yeah. The one guy that was like, these fucking guys are pussies.
Yeah, exactly.
They're fucking pussies. They don't know what they're talking about.
Pussies. They don't know.
It was already bent.
Oh, of course. Of course it was. There's nothing wrong with my members. Yours was already bent.
I'm a naturally bent member.
It's just the way that it occurs sometimes. It just means God gave me extra angel kisses. Oh, so, telegram, John Dean. So, he's with the Phoenix Bridge Company, and again, he sends this telegram that there is to be, despite the on-site issue, But they double down on it that there's to be no further work on this bridge until there's time to reassess.
Right.
But Dean just didn't forward this cable to the site.
God.
It wouldn't be body count if he did. So
Right.
he just decides not to forward this cable to the site, believing 100 in his assessment that the steel members were bent upon arrival from the fabrication yard.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, this cable said stop immediately. If they had, then, perhaps they could have strengthened the compression arms, possibly saved the bridge construction.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that happened?
No, of course, but I mean, even though John Dean, right, that's his name, he was basically oh, even though you have all this evidence, it's not enough for him. So, I'm just going to do what's best, what I think is best. So I'm going to ignore them. Psst. They don't know what they're fucking talking about. I just don't understand. Even though they've given him literally chalk lines in the sand, drawn a line in the sand. Look, sir, the sun moves, the shadow moves every time the sun moves. You know what I mean? Plain and simple in front of him, and he just.
I feel
so up on his pedestal, I'm right, you're wrong.
Exactly, and I feel like it's just the same old story when we do this damn podcast, week after freaking week. If we're not doing a deep dive on a historical figure, I mean, this is what we're running into. It's just that somebody knows better, but they don't know better. And we know how it's going to end at this point. So back to the site, the workers are feeling pretty good about the day, they're going to make it through, as they are almost in the clear for the day. 5:30 whistle that signaled workers to go ahead and put up their tools has blown. However, didn't take place. So here we are. Normally that 5:30 whistle blows, they put up their tools, they get to be done at 5:45.
Yeah, my husband says they at the shipyard, they clock out at 2, or they have to put up their tools at 2:15, but they can't clock out until 2:30.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things. So yeah, that makes complete sense.
Does that make sense? Okay, good. Yeah. I was hoping that made sense to everybody. Made sense to me. Makes sense to you. Whatever else.
Yeah.
Who cares? But that day, August 29th, 1907. So bear in mind, 5:30, they get this whistle. Everything's in the clear. Everybody's happy. They've put up their tools. That day, 5:37.
Oh, no.
Most of the workers would never go home again. There was the sound of rending steel, horrible crashing sound as tons of steel, I think 70,000 tons of steel, something like that, came crashing down. Don't quote me on that. Came crashing down at once. Now, many thought there had been an earthquake, and the sound was heard to 28 miles away. Many described the sight as they came running as apocalyptic, which, can we just say, really, really quickly, never a good descriptor of any kind of situation, right? Apocalyptic. Most of the men on the bridge that survived were in the St. Lawrence River 300 feet below them before they even realized what had happened. And of course, that's how quick this thing went down. They were just standing on something and then they weren't.
Oh my God. Oh, I can't even imagine.
It makes me want to throw up because I have a horrible fear of heights. So I could never do anything like that.
A quick drop, a huge.
Yeah, just poof. And a free fall of 300 feet. I mean, a bunch of people were knocked out upon impact, came to in the water, and were rescued by boats. Can you imagine?
No.
Jesus. But Bethany, it's going to get so much worse. So buckle up. And of course, as we know, this wouldn't be body count if they weren't the lucky ones. The men near the shore were less lucky than those that fell into the river. If they missed being crushed by the falling debris, they were inexorably trapped just as the tidewaters were beginning to rise in St. Lawrence River. So those trapped were now slowly drowning as their friends and family fucking watched. There was just no way of getting them out. I mean, think about that. There's 70 tons of steel and girders and whatever else on top of them. Some of the trapped men were calling out, begging to be killed before they could die of drowning, which, yeah, just like,
fucking kill me.
Exactly. Please fucking kill me and be done with it. I think we both agree on that. Like, yeah. I'm not going to sit there and just do it. Do it now. If you can't get me out of here, like, have the decency to shoot me in the face.
Yeah.
Please. It's one, I don't know, like, drowning in heights are two big fears of mine. So this one, like, really freaking got to me.
Well, see, this just reminds me. So, I've read the Hunger Games series.
Well, we all have.
Well, I reread that series just like I do Harry Potter, and it really reminds me of the part where I think it's the first one where it's Kato and he gets mauled by those dogs, and finally she decides to take him out of his misery, even though he was a worthless piece of crap. Like, when you just discussed that, it just reminded me of that moment, because like they could hear his screams and his pains and agony. It doesn't
matter. Like, your freaking humanity has to kick in at some point. And what a freaking moral juxtaposition that must be. You don't want to kill anybody.
I can see you. I can hear you. I can't help you, but I don't want to watch you die. And
I'm not going to watch you drown for 5.5 hours. I'm just not going to watch you suffer. Like, sorry. That's horrific.
Either it's just how fucking tragic is this?
That and the panic of drowning. Like, oh my God. Like, I'm not going to do that to somebody. Like, do the right thing in this situation. I agree. They're asking you, do the right thing. Oh, God. I mean, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine in modern day. Like, and people are put into this situation in modern day, but I cannot. Yeah. Oh, it makes me want to barf, because these are two big fears of mine. So, of the 100 laborers there that day, 76 died. A royal commission reported on March 10th, 1910, that the Quebec Bridge and Railway Company and the Phoenix Bridge Companies, as well as Theodore Cooper, were at fault. Now, the Quebec Bridge and Railway Company was ruined.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm going to say myself,
the Phoenix Bridge, they were the ones. Right? That's where John Dean came from.
He's the one that didn't forward the telegram. I think that is a massive, like, historical fuck up right there myself. I'd say the majority of the problem rests on the Phoenix Bridge Company out of good old Phoenixville, PA. If they're still in service today, fuck you, sirs. Like, you historical piece of shit. You got lucky. You got lucky. Because I really don't believe that the Quebec Bridge and Railway Company, I feel like the engineer that was on site that made that call was forced into that call by the Phoenix Bridge Company, you know? And they're the ones that didn't forward the telegram. You're exactly right. In the end, the call was up to them, and they killed the chain there. And then this is what kills me. So, like, being associated with one of the most catastrophic bridge disasters in the world ruined Theodore Cooper's long and illustrious career. Now, this was supposed to be like the glittering
jewel.
Yes, ma'am. Exactly.
What's it called? The crown jewel.
The crown jewel. I was going to say the glittering jewel in his crown of achievement, but you're exactly right. The crown jewels, if you will, like, of his entire career. And, like, instead it became the failure of his entire life's work. And I don't Yeah, there were mistakes made, but
He
ultimately
tried to redeem himself. He
he
really
tried
did.
to redeem himself. And ultimately, the bridge design came down once again to the Phoenix Bridge Company. So I feel like we're almost here to like rewrite history and be like, no, 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 no. Like ultimately, he tried to do the right thing. I feel like the Quebec like bridge and railway company was pushed into the right thing by the Phoenix Bridge
Bridge
Company.
company. Yeah, I'm with you there.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure we were both on the same page of that assessment
Yeah.
because I feel like here's the worst part. Theodore Cooper like gives up on life and dies a few months later.
What? No.
I know
Fuck. It had to have been the
it's freaking
stress.
right. Like
I bet he felt guilty.
right, isn't that heartbreaking? Because I don't feel like it's on him. He did everything. Like the bridge could have been saved if
Yeah. And
they'd
he
have
tried.
halted. He tried. He
Yeah.
really did try. I don't feel like it's necessarily fair. But again, they shouldn't have put all the major calls to come from one person
Mm-hmm.
because there's always a chance that those underneath him, they're not going to make the appropriate call, I suppose I should say. So, despite this major setback, the governments of Canada and Quebec went ahead with their plans to once again
Oh my God.
construct a bridge. Bethany, it gets worse. This time, woo, under the guidance of the newly formed St. Lawrence Bridge Company. Over the next 2 years, remnants of the old bridge are slowly hauled out of the St. Lawrence fucking river, and the second bridge's construction began in 1912. The design remained of that of the cantilever bridge, and it remained of the same size. Well, of course it did, because a man's never going to downsize. But with a slight difference. So the original design was to build from each side and meet in the middle, right?
Okay.
This time they build almost together and plan to bring in like 150-foot portion of the middle where the bridges are going to come together and like place it and finish the bridge. Smart, right?
Yeah, I'm down for that. That
I'm
sounds
down
like
for that as well. So,
yeah.
summer 1916, the two arms that it's going to work
4 years, right?
Yeah.
So it's been 4 years. Okay.
Yeah.
They only waited 5 years after the death of all those people before they were like, let's just build it again.
Let's do it again. Like it's a fucking game of Plinko, right? They've got these two arms like down, place complete, and they're ready for that sweet little centerpiece to work its way up. So it was to be floated downriver and put in place with hydraulic jacks, right? Like makes total sense to this point. Now, despite choosing the best workers and W.B. Fortune, which was head engineer, being on hand and on the site, one of the jacks fails on September 11th, 1916, collapses back into the river, and a further 13 people are killed.
For fuck's sakes, man, they can't catch a fucking break.
Right.
I mean,
like at that point, I
fucking
mean, like
Christ.
everybody's on site, best workers. Like at that point, it's just a fucking fluke. You know, it's what are you gonna do? One of the jacks fails. Like I can't say for a fact they tested it. Again, it was 1916. It wasn't exactly cutting edge of regulatory policy, but I feel like they probably did test it quite a bit, considering what had happened previously. Like, what are you going to do?
I mean, I do have to give it to them. At least they learned from their previous mistake. And they were like, we're going to go with the original idea.
Right, in this country.
You know?
Well, they didn't go with the original. It was still the 1,800 feet.
Right. But I mean,
But you're exactly right.
beam.
They moved the beams. They moved their placement poles. Like, they rethought out the design of the...
Let's learn from this tragic
cantilever bridge. Like, exactly. Which is more than we do in this country. But again, this was a joint effort between Canadians and the United States. And I thought this was a really well thought out plan. And I thought as I was reading and researching and doing all these articles, I thought, oh man, that's a good idea. Like that takes out the risk. So I thought.
Yeah.
Woo! Boy, was I wrong. So, despite the second tragedy, I have to say, like, nobody was willing to give up on this bridge. I mean,
you gotta hand it to them. They really have not given up. Good for them.
They're not going to. But there are a couple factors in that. Essentially, because the Industrial Revolution is in the place that it's in now, it means the economic future of Quebec City. And furthermore, you have to understand by the summer of 1916, there's a world war sort of going on. They needed this bridge. It had to be completed. And end of the day, like there's no choice.
Look, you got to have this bridge. So build that bridge. Like they really didn't have a choice.
What are you going to do? Like if you don't have the bridge, you fall behind in the industrialization race. You don't build the bridge, you're not going to be able to do a massive movement of war goods that you need to be able to do as you're fighting a world fucking war. But further than that, you already have like all of the bridge in place minus 150 feet of it. I mean,
I still finish it.
Might as well give it another go, right? Like that's kind of where I was at. So they make a second attempt on raising the middle piece on September 20th, 1917. And guess what, Bethany?
They did it.
They did it.
Yay! Yay! You did it. You did it. You did it. All right. Literally, like, third time's a charm.
Exactly. Literally in this case, third time's a charm. So, September 20th, 1917, they do it. And this, I don't know why, it like particularly touched me as a human moment because everybody that was there just went absolutely like crazy.
Yeah, I bet.
Like people that were in boats were like just laying on the horns. The workers exploded and it just particularly touched me. Mm-hmm. It was good times in Quebec. Now, in the end though, the world's largest cantilever bridge at the time cost over $25 million and claimed 89 lives.
Man.
And here's what I love about this story and hate about this story. Yet in all that time, the Quebec Bridge has been studied more than any other bridge in the world. And collectively, we all learned, and I mean not just the United States, not just Canada, we, the world, learned just how careful and precise the design process must be. If you were to build a similar bridge today, this problem would never occur.
Yeah. But why? Because we learned from the tragic events of Quebec.
Yeah, exactly. You're exactly right. Like that knowledge, I don't know. I don't know what the most important lesson is this week, guys, because I'm a little bit conflicted. Maybe never, ever, and this is how I'm going to pursue it. Never, exactly. Should you put the weight
on one person?
Entire project on one person?
Yeah, especially that big. I mean, haven't people heard the phrase two minds are better than one? But in this case, when you've got this big of a 1,800-foot bridge, that's literally your entire city of Quebec is counting on this bridge.
70,000 plus tons of steel. Yeah.
And you're having one person on site managing it.
He can't make the call. One person's in charge of the project. Other people are allowed to undermine his call. However, end of day, it was up to Cooper. And I will say this is where he failed because he was supposed to be the people manager. End of day. Like when you manage people, you manage people and you make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. Whether you have to scare them, whether you have to make them love you, I don't care what that is. You have to like Machiavelli your way through that shit.
Yeah.
So it was up to Cooper to make sure that the people under him took orders or needed to have, like, he needed to have assumed complete control, you know?
Right.
But such a project to me isn't like really achievable by yourself, is it?
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
to you, is it? It's not to me.
no, I always have to, it doesn't matter how big or small my project is. More than likely, like, I get to a point where I'm like, fuck, I need some help.
Like, what do I do in this podcast when I am just beyond overwhelmed? What do I do? Like,
well, first of all, you avoid my texts.
well,
And that's when I know. That's
yeah.
when I know you're overwhelmed. You know?
Well,
and finally,
let's
you
not
just have to
get
break down
into
and be
the
like,
psychology of me. Let's skip ahead to that and let's get to my breakdown point, Bethany, where I'm like, just please fucking take Twitter. I'm gonna explode.
yeah.
Oh, and I think there is a point to that, and that's why I wanted to cover this one this week,
Yeah.
because I learned something personal to me and to this podcast about it. So even if you are as confident in your abilities as Theodore Cooper, like, communication is key. Now,
Yeah.
we certainly absorb this lesson, I will say, as a nation day after day, but I don't know that we necessarily hear it, if that makes sense. Like, polarization is for the birds, guys. Nothing is achieved without communication. Nothing is achieved without everybody coming together. But projects, nations, they only work if we're united. Now, if we never remember this as a nation, really quickly, I want to talk about, someone told me recently, and I know I mentioned it on the last episode, but I hadn't really come to terms with
You used it against me the other day.
I did use it against you, very weaponized the other day, and I felt really bad for it. But I felt like
really good. And
no, and I feel like this episode, this is why I wanted to do it with you, Bethany, because I feel like this episode, since I weaponized that exact term against you, and not that it wasn't weaponized against me. It was told to me in a very matter of fact, like, this is just the way life is.
well, the thing is that at the end of the day, only we are able to control ourselves. That's the saying that we are discussing right now. Like, it really has changed our perspectives. And if you have anxiety of things, and for me, my anxiety comes from a lot of outsourcing. Sometimes I do a lot of my anxiety of course, of internal, but a lot of my anxiety comes from outside sources or outside people. And when I had a moment of weakness, Jessica threw that at me and she was like, remember, Bethany, only you can control you. And it sucked at first, but it's one of those things where you're like, damn it.
Dude, no, Bethany,
right.
I have to tell you, like, I mean, but you were there. You were there when it was thrown at me.
Yeah.
And what a freaking nutcase was I last week. Like, it might actually have saved us a great deal of anxiety in life, ultimately. And so when I was reading this and when I was going through this, and I know we've talked about it many times, but I'll say it again, it really resonated deeply with me because of that. And ultimately, at the end of the day, we control our interactions with others and how we respond. And that means we choose to be alone in whatever project we take on, or we choose to rely on and properly organize others. It's up to us. So we can take that information and apply it to our own lives. Great triumph comes out of great tragedy.
Yeah.
On the national scale, all the way down to the individual. So nothing of great magnitude should ever be placed on the shoulders of just one person. do what you will with that, guys. I don't know about you, Bethany. We can talk about it a little bit more if you want to, but that kind of does it for me this week. Like, my
Yeah.
point being, if we continue to understand that communication is key, if we continue to understand that you're not alone in building anything, that this needs to be distributed through your network of people. And if you don't have one, build one. If not, we'll be your network of people. We
Yeah.
literally
Your
will.
friends.
We'll be your
We're-
friends. Anxiety is a real thing, guys.
We're all in this together.
Together. Oh my God.
Sorry, High School Musical just kicked in. Sorry about that, y'all.
Because we're 12.
Well, we're not 12.
No, but we just really love musicals. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Not
Whether
sorry.
it's old Hairspray, like whether it's John Waters' Hairspray and the new one, we just quite frankly don't care. We love musicals that much. We'll watch them all.
Yes.
Oh my God, Bethany, I'm so glad we got to talk about that because, like, it being thrown at me and then me throwing it at you and then how it relates to this story this week. Because I still, quite frankly, haven't gotten over it. That's why I take so calmly the news that so many people hate my voice, whereas other people love it. And you know what? We're going to do us. So. I also watched the new season of Grace and Frankie, so my new saying is just fuck it, you know? Like, if you don't like it, fuck it. I don't really care. Now, really quickly, that's going to bring us to our happy time.
Counterculture.
Yes. Oh my God.
Join our cult, everyone.
Like, we promise we're not going to take you down to Guyana and kill you. Our cult is actually about love and about sharing. Because in no way do we have the organization that Jim Jones has.
No, not even close.
No, we're massive human beings. So just join our anxiety cult, basically, is what we're asking you to do. Be anxious with us. I don't really have anything except my normal plug, you know. CareRescueTexas.com, Care Rescue Texas on social media. Please, 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 guys, go and check them out, especially on Instagram. I promise you, you will fall in massive love, especially when you see the amazing rescue work that they do with their animals. Bethany, have you ever looked at them yet? You don't have to. Oh, you have?
Adorbs. So
but
cute.
Like, the tigers is that not just like, oh God, and the pictures are so good. And the lemurs and the dogs and the dogs and cats with the lemurs.
Oh my God.
Because I love Madagascar and I'm 12, like, again, I'm mentally 12. I'm not an adult. So when I see dogs, cats, and lemurs together, I just lose my shit. That's I love Care Rescue Texas. They're absolutely amazing organization. Please go support them. Now, Bethany.
Yes.
That takes us into what made you happy this week.
Oh, okay. So, for those of you that don't know, we started doing something recently. It's you can download this app called Live.
I know where you're going.
And it's basically just a broadcast system. People get on there, they have live chats. You can pop into people's things and talk and stuff like that. So we've been doing something with the people from Ask for Cast, which we've plugged them in our counterculture before. If you haven't heard them,
and if you don't know them, I think it's at Majestic Melody, at Rick and Roller, and then at Really Linden. Yeah.
I think so.
Linden's?
Yes.
I assume.
Oh, no. I don't know. I feel bad now.
We shouldn't plug them on. I know that's Missy's for sure.
Anyway, we do this Live Me app, and we go on there. We also meet up with the people that are on Despair and Distress podcast, and we also recommended them, too. So
Really quickly, just a Twitter plug for them. They are only at Despair and Distress. They don't have their personal Twitters.
Yeah. It's just their podcast.
It's just their podcasts.
Yes. And other people too. Like there's some incredibly funny people from Australia and all over the world.
Oh my God. I am
really good.
Like,
kind of
honest
like
to
a
God,
feel for who we are on there. Like our veil is off. Like
as horrified as I am to come on week to week, and as nervous as I am to come on week to week to do our actual podcast, I cannot describe to you guys what I feel like when I get on to Live Me, but about 10 minutes into it, you're going to have no idea that I was ever like concerned about the process. I agree with Bethany. Like, you want to punch through the veil. We like go beyond it.
Yeah. There's no holding back.
We don't want to horrify you though. Like, it's not like we're talking about theoretical physics or we're talking about.
It is stuff that might actually petrify you.
It might petrify you. We're playing a lot of games of never have I ever.
Or you might actually fall more in love with us, you know.
Quite frankly, we don't know what your hat bag of tricks is. But if this is too much for you, I'm going to say that's probably going to be beyond the pale. Maybe don't join the Live Me. But that's just me. But we have a great freaking time doing it, and we do it throughout the week, and we're really, really thankful for Ask for Cass for letting us do it with them. First off, incredible of you guys, and second for Despair and Distress for like supporting us and our anxiety, because again, we're like an anxiety driven podcast. Bethany and I at the end of the day can't crawl out of bed without medication, guys. It's just the way that it is. And, you know, we're here for you.
Yeah. We're all in the same boat.
We're all in the same boat. All right. Well, that kind of wraps it up for us this week. You can contact us on email on our website at www.bodycountpod.net, where you can definitely listen. You can find links to purchase our source material if you would really like to do a deep dive, which we just skimmed the surface, so go and check them out. You can DM me on Twitter and Instagram with any suggestions that you guys have. We want to know what you want to hear about. Follow the show at Body Count on Instagram and Twitter, and Body Count on Facebook. Please tell your friends about us. Please subscribe, rate, review the show. We drop every Wednesday wherever you can listen to podcasts, including Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, etc.
Audio Boom. Yeah.
Audio Boom. You can get us there as well. Search Body Count. We pop right up. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Jessica B. Manor. And where do we find you at, Bethany?
Okay, so you can find me on Twitter at Bethany Skelton 5. You can also find me on Instagram at Bethany RN 24. And then Facebook is Bethany Rose Skelton.
That does it for us this week.
That was fun.
It was fun. It was definitely an exploration of the human spirit. I will put it that way.
Hear, hear.
As per always here at Body Count, a disturbing exploration of the human spirit. So we love you guys.
We love you.
Yes. So much. And we'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye.